I began to see, in the wake of this particular level of emotional disruption, that nature is an essential prompt for what I like to think of as necessary terror. I think any major loss leads into this dark and frightening woods, but what we forget, and what myth and fairy tale were often used to remind us of hundreds and thousands of years ago, is that deliverance is in the woods themselves. It's not around it, it's not over it, it's in it itself. In those thickets is the grace that most spiritual traditions talk about, that waits for those who stay present in the midst of grief. Metaphors then that I saw in nature, just like the leaves desperate for rain, were of deprivation. They were everywhere I looked. If I had to sum up that haunting, kind of terrifying, hollow sense of the images of nature, I would tell you about the first trip I took to Alpine Lake in the Sawtooth Mountains, the first scattering of ashes I did in the fall following her death. And I remember that faint rain-like patter of bone chips hitting the water and these shards of oyster white dropping down in through the shallows and falling onto these cold granite stones on the bed of the lake. I was a victim, crushed in the very kind of setting that I'd spent so much of my life loving and so drawn to. And now I was surrounded by metaphors and images that were absolutely nothing but stabs in the heart and reminders of loss. It was akin to me, although on a much heavier level, as something I wrote about in Shouting at the Sky. The kids who I talked about, one boy in particular, when I had just finished staff training and I was out in the first week in the field and it was a cold sleet falling on us. And this 15-year-old boy basically turns to me and says, "It's raining on us because I'm a jerk." And I heard similar things. I thought at first, oh my God, is there any help for this poor kid? But then I heard other kinds of things that probably all of you hear all the time about we're uncomfortable because of something I did. And then without any real prompting or correction from the staff, who knew better than to make a big deal out of it, I suppose, within a few weeks, he and most of the other kids I ran across who had that perspective just were able to separate what was about them and what wasn't. It's raining on us and that sucks, but it's not about me. Took them about 3 weeks, took me a whole lot longer to get through that particular phase. So that was the first thing, to go into the natural world and be prompted by metaphors and images that are absolutely full of loss. And think of nature, there's cold and there's rain and there's snow and there's autumn and there's darkness and there's lots and lots of things that you can build the story of your victimhood around. And I think, as I say, for me, it was a necessary terror. It was just something I had to do.